Hi everyone, I'd like to say a couple of things here. Firstly, about my videos. I post them on various different websites and I do appreciate all the comments and the messages I get, but I could really do without seeing any more racist comments, if you wouldn't mind. I'm speaking here to the white racists, but this applies equally well to the brown ones. I don't share your pathetic and obnoxious views in any way imaginable. So if you really have to show the world what an intellectual insect you are, please don't do it here. Because every time I see one of your comments, it's like stepping in dog shit, and I don't want to have to follow you around with a pooper scooper, so if you could help me out and just put them somewhere else, preferably up your own fundament using the business end of a pineapple, I'd be much obliged. And secondly, I'd like to say a few words about the Bible. It seems to me that because faith operates outside the bounds of reason, it feels entitled to claim knowledge from unreasonable sources, such as divine revelation, which is a fancy way of saying voices in the head, or dreams, or even drugs, if you read the book of Revelation, which is an extraordinary account of a bad trip through the canyons of a frazzled mind. It's the last book in the Bible, and it was written by somebody called John of Patmos, and he was definitely on something because the island of Patmos is notoriously abundant in psilocybin mushrooms, and you don't need to ingest too many of them to start having rabid visions, maybe even scribble a book of wild ramblings and ravings while you're at it. What could be more natural? Although reading Revelation, I don't get the impression of anyone actually having written it so much as shouted it while hanging upside down by his ankle from a bell tower, or scrolling it in his own blood on the city walls. It's fair to say that I'm not entirely convinced that this is the product of a healthy mind. Of course, I have to balance these doubts against the counter-argument, which is, but it's in the Bible, so it must be true, because the Bible is the Word of God, because it says it is, so it must be true, because the Bible is the Word of God, etc., etc. Clearly, for some people, God doesn't move so much in mysterious ways as in ever-decreasing circles. I wonder if he goes in the opposite direction in the Southern Hemisphere. Maybe somebody can write and let me know. But I find it quite ironic that some Christians would like to ban the Harry Potter books in case their children turn to witchcraft and away from Jesus, as opposed to turning to Christianity and even further away from Jesus, from what I've seen. Jesus camp, anyone? I don't know about you, but I smell sulphur. But you know, I think once you start banning books, you really start banning civilization, and that's why I would never be in favour of banning the Holy Scriptures, which is a question I was asked recently, even though I think they do more harm than good. I think the Bible, and the Quran for that matter, are very ambiguous books to quite a dangerous degree, because they both preach peace, as they often claim to do, yes, but they also preach violence. So really, it depends what you're actually looking for when you open the book, because that's pretty much what you're going to find. And if you choose to read it literally, well then yes, you've got yourself a charter for barbarism. But if you approach it as the inspirational text that it was doubtless meant to be, well then you can access a world of some subtlety and wisdom. But you have to actually want to do it. And unfortunately, too many people prefer dogma to enlightenment. They'd rather use their holy books to reinforce their own narrow prejudices and then try to impose them on everybody else. Like cavemen using a flashlight as a hammer. They've missed the point completely, and for me, this is the most depressing thing about the Holy Scriptures. But since we are using them to lay down rules of behaviour for other people, it's clear to me from the New Testament that anyone who goes to church on a Sunday is a blasphemer. Because Jesus specifically said, don't pray in public. Keep your religion to yourself, didn't he? In the Sermon on the Mount, I think it was, Matthew 6, verses 5 and 6. Don't be like the hypocrites, he said, who pray in the synagogues and on the street corners where they can be seen. He said, no, not you. You go into your closet and shut the door and pray to God in secret, and God will hear you in secret and reward you openly. That's what he said. Keep your religion to yourself. It's right there in black and white in the Queen's English in the Holy Gospel. How much more true could it possibly be? Clearly, therefore, every Christian church is nothing but a halfway house on the road to hell. And don't blame me, I didn't say it, the Bible did. Peace and all that jazz.